Hello, my name is Martin Klose. I'm the Executive Director of the German Chamber in the southwest of China. Heartfelt congratulations to CW CPA teams and wish you all the best for your continued success.
Hello, I'm Wolfgang of GIC.
Hello, I'm Karen Choi from German Chamber.
And we congratulate CW CPA on its 5th anniversary.
Hi, how are you? My name is Daniel Marucci. I'm currently the president of the Chinese Chamber of Commerce here in Brazil. And I would like to say thank to CWCPA for the long-term partnership with our chamber.
Hi, my name is Bernardo Mendia. I am president of the Portugal-Hong Kong Chamber of Commerce and Industry. To the whole team of CWCPA, my warm congratulations.
Hello everyone, my name is Marlene Marroquin and I'm the Executive Regional Director of the United States-Mexico Chamber of Commerce. I would like to congratulate CWCPA for their achievement for the 5-year anniversary. Congratulations Thomas, Delilah and all the team back in Hong Kong and all over the world for their success. It's been a pleasure to work with you over the years and I wish you a lot of success. Salud!
Hello, I'm Jaime Suarez from the Colombian Chinese Investment and Commerce Chamber in Colombia. I want to congratulate my friends from the CW team on their 5th anniversary, especially my great friend Mr. Thomas Wong. Amazing people, extraordinary professionals I have met over these 5 years in the CW team. The best is yet to come. Happy anniversary.
Congratulations to Thomas, Rosanna, and other friends in CWCPA. You have done great work in the past 5 years, and we know that CWCPA will have fantastic achievement in the next 5 years. Thank you.
Hello. On behalf of AMZ Law Firm, I would like to thank CWCPA's team for their close cooperation during all these years. And of course, I would like to sincerely congratulate you and wish you many, many more successes.
Hi, I am Antonio Serrano Citores from Space Techies in Spain. Warmest congratulations to the CWCPA team. You're great professionals and above all, excellent people. Congratulations.
Congratulations from MMC Mexico to CW for its anniversary and our best wishes for many more years of peace, health and success.
Hola amigos de CW, soy Hugo Hernández. Desde El Salvador me complace unirme a la alegría y celebración por su 5º aniversario. Como representante de Asia Bay Consulting para El Salvador y Centroamérica en productos de café, les deseo una larga trayectoria, un gran posicionamiento, enviarles un fuerte abrazo y por supuesto un brindis con café de El Salvador a su salud.
Hi, I'm Felipe, a partner of CW based in Brazil. Greetings for you all the best.
Hi, this is Sujong Ko from Goldenok Consulting. Congratulations to CWCPA for the anniversary celebration and also for the great achievements in your business venture.
Hi, I'm Ricardo from Mexico, and I was a part of a virtual internship experience with CW. To all the members of the CWCPA team, congratulations on your well-deserved success.
Hi everyone. I'm Jose Abram, and I was part of a virtual internship at CWCPA, and I'm here to say congratulations to all members of CW. So pleased to see you accomplishing great things.
Hello, my name is Maria. I used to work with Thomas and his team in developing the Latin American market. I want to wish everyone in CWCPA a big congratulations. This is an amazing milestone, and I'm sure you're going to have many more successful milestones moving forward.
Hi, I'm Juan Carlos Rio, Executive Director of Intercorp Peru, China. Congratulations to CWCPA's team on their great achievement. All the best.
Hello, I'm Juan Miguel from Colombia. Congratulations to the CWCPA team. All the best.
Hi, I'm Mauricio Quiroz from Repris. To all members of CWCPA team, congratulations on your well-deserved success.
Hi, I'm Sinki, born in Macau and now based in Medellin, Colombia. I would like to say a huge, big
Happy birthday to our friends CW, CPA, for your first 5 years of success.
Hi, I'm Richard Lowe, Managing Director of Hewlett Brand Training and Digital Learning Services, and CW CPA's training partners. Our congratulations to Thomas, Rosanna and the whole CW CPA team in achieving this significant milestone, providing 5 years of quality accounting services and business advisory services too. Andrew and I are absolutely delighted to be continuing to partner with you as we help your clients to train them for skills for growth across the Asia Pacific region. Once again, congratulations on 5 years.
Hi, my name is David Thomas. I'm a director and founder of APAC Financial Services in Sydney, Australia. I'm delighted to congratulate my friends at CW CPA Hong Kong for your magnificent achievement of reaching a 5-year milestone this year. It's exciting to see the progress and development that you've made. I send you all my best wishes and congratulations for the next 5 years and well beyond. Look forward to working with you in the months and years ahead. Best wishes from me.
It's been a real privilege to be associated with CW CPA these last 5 years. It's a firm that puts the people first, whether they're clients, colleagues or collaborators. Many congratulations from ILB Silva.
Hi Thomas, hi Rosanna, hi Delilah. Now we would like to make a toast.
We would like to make a toast to all the CW CPA's team.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
Cheers.
Hello everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. My name is Delilah Lee. I'm the Senior Manager at CWCPA and welcome to our live session today. Thank you all for joining. Today's event is about upscaling your China business in a digital age, where we discuss opportunities and challenges of doing business in China. We have our firm's two partners, Mr. Thomas Wong and Ms. Rosanna Choi, participating in the discussion. We are also very honored to have the support from Taylor Wessing, an international law firm with over 1,000 lawyers worldwide. Our special guest, Mr. Michael Tan, partner of Taylor Wessing Shanghai office, will share his valuable insights on the latest development in the area of cybersecurity and data compliance in China. Today, many of you know that we're celebrating our 5 years milestone. Since 2017, our firm has grown from a small team to a mid-sized accounting advisory firm with international footprints in the UK, Spain, Colombia, and Brazil. So let me first welcome our firm's partner, Mr. Wong and Ms. Choi, to give their welcoming remarks. Mr. Wong, please. And Ms. Choi.
Thank you, Delilah. Good morning to all my friends, and or good evening or good afternoon, depending where you are. First of all, I would like to mention one word first. Root. Root is very important. Why I mention this word root? Because today on this online webinar, my high school teacher and now also my high school supervisor is also joining live, to witness my or our firm's, 5-year milestone. So this is the first root. And the second root that I would like to mention is, of course, clients, friends, as well as business contacts. Without all of you, we would not have been here today. Me and Rosanna would not have been here today celebrating our 5 years. And I hope, to have the continued support, from clients, friends, and business contacts in the next 5 years and more years to come. So Rosanna and I will assure you that, the next time, when we celebrate our 10th anniversary, I hope, this will be in a physical manner, not in a hybrid manner like this morning. So anyway, 5 years anniversary, today we officially kickstart our 5 years anniversary celebration. We will do a series of celebration activities, but in a hybrid mode. 5 years, never easy, not easy, through many dangers, toils, and challenges. We have already come. It's grace that has brought us safe and thus so far. Grace will continue to lead me and Rosanna. Yes, it's amazing grace. Praise for the grace and praise for every morning like this morning. This morning is very special to both of us. Now, why June today to kickstart the celebration? A lot of people will wonder why, because, today is Monday here in Hong Kong and Sunday, basically overseas. Well, we moved into the present Hong Kong office on June the 7th, 2017. 2017, yes. Therefore, exactly 5 years in the present office. So today is the day that we celebrate our 5 years in this physical office here in Hong Kong. Now, our firm was founded by Rosanna and me in January 2017 with nothing from scratch, with belief, hard work, perseverance, and a little bit of creativity. Now, these 5 years are not easy at all. Rosanna and I are lucky that our firm is still going on with strength and tenacity. When we started our firm in January 2017, I have been always saying that we need to embrace our work with constant innovation and to challenge ourselves not to embrace the status quo and push forward. Now, these 5 years, what we have achieved, I will briefly mention the milestones that we have had in these 5 years. Number one, some data for all my friends, business contacts and clients who are here this morning. Now, we have right now 1,022 clients, 70% from overseas, from US, Europe, Latin America, UK, Spain, Germany, Southeast Asia, Australia, etc. And we have now about 95 staff. Offices, we have Hong Kong, this is the head office. Shenzhen in China, we have Shenzhen office, Guangzhou office, and Shanghai office. Overseas, we have a small office in Colombia, Bogota. Now, contact points we have in Barcelona, London, and also Sao Paulo of Brazil. Who we are, we are an international SME advisory firm. Our firm's motto, this is very important in this pandemic time, family and health, this is our firm's motto. No compromise on this. Now, in the last 5 years, the following are worth mentioning. Number one, we joined the number 2 Global Accounting Network Association in 2018, called Linear Global, with 99 countries with about 260 affiliate firms all over the world. And we got a lot of referrals from these affiliate firms, for China and Hong Kong. Now, second, we have developed our GBA business. Rosanna and I, we work very hard. Now in Shenzhen office and Guangzhou office, we have about 40 staff. So that's why our business is okay in spite of this pandemic or in spite of many, many challenges because of GBA. Number 3, we would like to mention that our firm has developed into a caring company. We are a caring company from years 2018 to this year, 2022. We will continue to be a caring company, not only to serve our clients, but also to serve our community here in Hong Kong. Now, the fourth one I would like to mention is going digital. That's why, today's our theme is upscaling, how digital we should upscale, our business, by way of digital. So our firms has indeed also gone digital. Clients don't have to come to Hong Kong and China in the last few years because we still can provide services to them online. Now, we have a digital package called Pro Virtual Package. Science Park, Cyberport, the 2 big innovation IT hubs in Hong Kong are our partners as well as also our clients. We have also joined the TDC digital sourcing platform as a CPA firm, and technical partners, we have Xero, Kingdee, and Air Wallets, a digital payment platform, and also a unicorn with a market valuation of US dollars 5.5 billion. Now, monthly newsletter, the next one is, I'm very proud, Rosanna also very proud. We reckon that we are the only CPA firm in Hong Kong that produces monthly newsletters in 3 languages, English, Spanish, and Portuguese. We are a little bit creative. That's why, in the last couple of years, because of employment, sometimes it's hard to employ people. We also have online employment, not only in Hong Kong, but also overseas. And lastly, we also, because of the pandemic, we allow, staff we also employ part-time staff working here in Hong Kong, China, and overseas via digital platform. So on behalf of CW Group, Rosanna and I would like to extend our gratitude to all our friends, clients, and business contacts. Each day we live, we want to be a day to give our very best, our finest day, and let me tell you, it's yet unknown. So we soldier on, and thank you very much. Now the time to Rosanna. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to everyone. Thank you for joining us this morning, or evening, or afternoon. This 5 years is not an easy one. The first 2 years we laid the foundation, but then we met with the challenges of this social event and also the pandemic. But Thomas and I are sportsmen with the never give up spirit. Of course, it would not happen without the unfailing support from all of you that we managed to grow from strength to strength. Thank you very much again. And we look forward to seeing you, all of you, here for another ceremony 5 years later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Choi and Mr. Wong. So without further ado, I would like to start our discussion today. As we're already approaching the end of second quarter of 2022, and obviously there are a lot of discussions and worries about the slowing down of China's economy, and economists are lowering their China GDP forecast. The partial lockdown in some cities of China is affecting businesses, and we even had our Shanghai team working from home for a couple of weeks. Speaking from the perspective of businessmen, as you two, that are counting a lot on the success and growth on China. Can you tell us what your general thoughts are on this current situation? What is keeping you or keeping our firm positive and resilient?
Yes, thank you, Delilah. First of all, very likely that there will be a recession, but very mild, I think. And secondly, China is a very big market with 1.4 billion people. So the demand will be there, to demand a lot of imports from overseas, all right? So therefore, this will create a lot of demand there internally in China. And very early, I mentioned the word online employment. I see that there will be a growing trend. If we want to beat the recession, if we want to beat the challenges, so I would favor a lot, to be creative a little bit, using online employment, not only here in Hong Kong, overseas, but also as well as in China and maybe other countries, like even Southeast Asia. I really don't know. So I am cautiously optimistic about the future. Yet, challenges ahead, but we will overcome.
Yeah, I just want to supplement a little bit, talking about the online consumption of Chinese consumers. In 2020, the amount is around 1.9 trillion US dollars. That represents 25 to 50% of the total retail sales, as compared to 10 to 20% in the US. So you can tell how big the potential is. Yeah.
And when we talk with our clients that look to set up companies in China, most of the time, I think in our cases, we're dealing with clients that are already relying on China's supply chain, purchasing from China, selling to the other markets. But in the past 2 years, a lot of companies, either foreign or Chinese companies, they are considering re-engineering their supply chain. I mean, is it really that easy to do so? And I also hear China is too big to ignore. Do you see this statement still relevant today? I mean, in fact, I already know that your answer is yes, but how about sharing your opinion of what are the main catalysts that will drive China's economic performance post-COVID and in the long term, so that we continue to see foreign companies wanting to do business in and with China?
Yes, thank you, Delilah. The main catalyst, of course, I mentioned earlier, it's the big population in China, 1.4 billion, all right? So the second word just now you mentioned, Delilah, the word re-engineering, So as a businessman, I think, we should always re-engineer our business model, be it, whether we are in the old-fashioned model and we have always to ride on the trend, So therefore, I see that, you know, the growing population or the big population in China is a driving force. Plus, as well as, you know, a lot of businessmen already start re-engineering their business model, like us, like our firm, we go digital. So that's why we still survive, and we are still, in fact, growing a little bit every year. All right, so this is my my comment.
Yeah, talking about catalysts, we cannot ignore, you know, the vision and mission of the Chinese leaders, of course. If you look at the 14 5-year plan for the national economic and social developments issued last year, you can see that China has a very aggressive green targets, and that it acknowledges a large aging population that is shifting away from this one-child policy, that it wants to, you know, improve its general living standards and improve its workforce opportunities, so that you know, you can drive to its mission of going to be world-leading kind of development and growth and innovation. I think that we should take into consideration.
Right. And you mentioned about innovation, and of course, today's topic is related to digitalization and innovation. But we always quote examples of Alibaba or Tencent or ByteDance, Xiaomi, or when you look at these examples, these are all Chinese companies. That's not enough to convince our overseas clients, because these are Chinese-based companies. But I'm not talking about, you know, there are restrictions in some sectors which are not open to foreign investors. I mean, most of our clients, they already have done their homework. I'm talking about how can foreign brands and businesses outsmart these local players? I mean, what do you think are the elements for sustaining, surviving, and even succeeding in China? What do you think?
Yes, I think one word is very important. It's, you know, friends. As I mentioned earlier in my opening remarks, I said I have to be grateful. We have to be grateful to our friends. So without friends, you know, we would not have this 5-year anniversary. So friends, that means cooperation. I would see that, you know, overseas companies, when they want to come into the market of China, or to ride on a trend, they should find local partners and to have a friendly bonding. And of course, we have our CW group, you know, we have a very vast network in China, which we can extend our network of friends, you know, to our overseas businessmen. So friends are very important. And we can see that not only cooperation, you know, of overseas companies, you know, with Chinese companies, but we can see that there is a growing trend also for overseas companies to ride on the cross-border e-commerce of China right now. So, you know, the activities are still on, and I am the testament. Rosanna is the testament of this trend. All right, so it's very promising ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, I think the overseas investors need to have a digital insights into this personalized, diversified, dynamic consumer demands. They need to align with the supply chain. They need to, you know, have the right structure to ensure that, be it about tax or legal, to ensure that the after-tax cash can be routed to the places for right places for future developments. Yeah.
Yep, I want to follow up on that tax and legal topics. In recent years, we've seen some regulatory changes in China to echo government's commitment to further ease market access, and at the same time boosting fair competition. Well, I wanted to actually ask Ms. Choi, since you have some experience in risk management, and we know that regulatory compliance is boring but important. We want our client to operate correctly in China. Can you perhaps highlight a few recent reforms that would impact foreign business operating in China?
Yeah, before I highlight them, I think it's important to know where they are coming from. So actually, the development goals of China has become more focused on the domestic market. And the policy priorities have been changed from the previously quantity-driven, that means GDP growth, the output in terms of volume and low cost, to quality-led, That means compliance, regulatory compliance, and also this value-added kind of output. So on the one hand, you can see that this environmental law and also its enforcement has been strengthened. The introduction or the new addition of this cybersecurity law and data privacy law that our VIP guest speaker, Mr. Michael Tan, would cover that in more in depth. And also this corporate social credit system. But on the other hand, you can see the financial deleveraging and also selective opening up of this finance markets. And you can also see reduced investment activities for investments and also the clarification of this investment law. So I think it's important to look at the big picture first. Thank you.
Mr. Wong, any comments from your side?
No.
But I do want to ask you, yes, there are a lot of regulatory reforms or foreign investors, they need to pay attention to be in compliance. What about, give us some comments on what are the best practices in your opinion in order to stay compliant and not to avoid costly mistakes?
Yes. The best compliance is always follow to the local rules and regulations stipulated, by the local government. And my second opinion is that if you want to know more about the compliance rules or laws, please consult CWCPA. Consult us.
Or if about data privacy and also cybersecurity, ask Michael.
Yeah.
But we will charge you a little bit.
Right. Yeah. So thank you very much, Mr. Wong and Ms. Choi, for your sharing. We will end our part of this discussion here for the first part. So next, I would like to introduce Michael Tan, partner of Taylor Wessing. He's based in Shanghai. Michael has more than 20 years of experience advising international companies operating in and with China. And throughout these 20 years, Michael has been gradually converging his focus on the technology-driven business. So we are very excited to have Michael on the panel to discuss cybersecurity and data compliance management in China. Welcome, Michael. You can turn on your video and you can start.
Yep. Thank you. So first, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everywhere to our dear friends. And can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for confirmation. So big congratulations to our friends CWCPAs for your 5-year anniversary. And also thank you, Thomas and Rosanna, for your kind organization of this event. It's my great honor to be here to share with you our observation about some latest picture on the ground here. And first, a very brief introduction about myself. My name is Michael Tan. I'm based in Shanghai. Today is a sunny day here. Really would like to share this good mood with you. Likely you cannot feel about how I feel here. After more than almost 3 months of lockdown here in Shanghai, maybe you have heard about that. It's really good to meet up and see more people here. And I have been in the business for more than 30 years. So doing particularly focusing on the data and cybersecurity topics, which has been fast developing in recent years in China. There are a lot of, ambiguities, issues, and however, from a legal perspective, I can't not to only present about the difficulties, but would also like to share some thinking about the opportunities which are lying ahead. And so here we go. Next slide, please. So first, we all know that since long, the Chinese market has been highly regulated. Particularly, there has been market access control for years. However, in recent years, we do observe that there has been quite some positive developments. One thing you need to bear in mind is always that in China, on the one hand, you may have very stringent laws and regulations. On the other hand, how these laws and rules are enforced in practice, this will need to be also need to be carefully analyzed, because that could have a practical impact on how you execute and implement your business plan. Next slide, please. So before we run into that, I think Thomas and Rosanna already touched upon the question on why we need to talk about China. I mean, yes, there has been virus outbreak, there has been lockdown of Shanghai as the powerhouse for whole China and even the whole world, having a big impact on the supply chain. However, what we usually would like to describe is that this is a market that you cannot be absent. And looking upon the major figures, which you might be familiar with, I mean, last year still, I think China still recorded among the top development speed in the world, and currently number two, the second largest economy in the world, and soon to be number one. And also, if you look upon the wealth, it's also climbing up. So this is quite a promising market. And next slide, please. And coming back to the topic of today, because we talk about digitalization, and here, if you are not so much familiar with the Chinese market, you might need to look upon certain hard facts that, at least here on this market, the so-called infrastructure, IT infrastructure, this is very much developed. And also there's a huge population using the internet, including particularly mobiles, to have access to various information and resources. And online shopping, this is already quite well known. And also currently the top players globally, many of them are coming from China. And cloud office usage is particularly after the pandemic outbreak of COVID-19, this has been surging in China. And currently there we do have a lot of experience managing respective topics concerning cloud office, home models, home office models. So all these indicates that digitalization will have a very promising future in China, while it also will create a lot of issues which you need to carefully manage. Next slide, please. So before we run into the regulatory picture, let me share with you about the most common business models which foreign players may use to enter the market. This is the most straightforward model for entry stage companies. If you are foreign, you have very good services or goods with particular goods. If you want to sell to this huge market, then what you can take would be this kind of offshore model by a marketplace players. So typically we talk about market players like Alibaba, like Alibaba International. They do have their setup in Hong Kong, and then you just go to their website, enroll and apply for their services. Then all your goods can be shown and become visible to the Chinese market. Legally speaking, this is no problem, and no PRC license required because you are sitting outside China. The only thing you need to be careful about would be potential liabilities or claims which may be raised by consumers, and how you manage your cross-border supply chain to ensure that goods are properly delivered. This is already a very mature model on the market. I think less regulatory issues to be concerned, but more practical issues which you need to manage. Next slide, please. And this is yet another more advanced version about how you enter China, meaning that you might set up your own shop, you have your own local entity set up taking care of the local deliveries, local logistics, and also the after-sales services. Such a model certainly will also be legally viable. I mean, I still remember 30 years back, distribution sector in China was subject to very strict control, and also foreign investment, you hardly could really play a role there. But now this sector has already been fully liberalized, meaning that you are free to sell in China, including those products which were not made by yourself. And this model will be more customer friendly because you are close to your local Chinese customers, and also all your payments will be settled locally. And in the end, all your profits could be repatriated out of China, although there's foreign exchange control. But currently, all these current account transactions have been fully liberalized. So there's no problem for you to get money out of China. And this is also quite a popular model these days for those brands which would like to have more influence and control over their local sales model. So next slide, please. Yeah, market liberalization. We just talked about the sales model, which has been fully liberalized. However, if we talk about digitalized economy, actually another more important aspect of that is the various online services. So in that regard, what you need to bear in mind is that all online models in China could potentially subject to restrictions because this could touch upon the very sensitive value-added telecom license issue. And in that regard, the scope of the definition of value-added telecom service and the Chinese law, this is very broad. And the major restriction is that currently China does not allow foreign state to be going beyond 50%. So meaning that if you want to offer services online, then very much likely you will need to find a local partners. But there are certain exceptions, and these exceptions also witness the gradual liberalization of the Chinese market in terms of foreign investment access control. So this exception will, number one, we talk about e-commerce. This has been already explicitly addressed by national level laws. And in this regard, there are also some other online services which may more be relating to the more typical telecom services instead of to the general business that I won't mention. And still, you need to bear in mind that if as far as we talk about online content, online distribution, publication, broadcasting, all this is still very much strictly prohibited, meaning that as a foreign player, you don't have a chance to do that by yourself. Rather, you have to team up or to do that via a qualified local partner. And in that regard, certain liberalization has also been rolled out in the so-called free trade zone schemes, including under CEPA, which if you are from Hong Kong, you might be familiar with that. It's a closer partnership arrangement between mainland China and Hong Kong. So certain telecom services have been liberalized. There's some concerns about like online services like app stores, but this may still not be so much relevant to those traditional business. So here I'm more focusing on e-commerce, as I explained in my previous slides, that in this sector, currently there's, I mean, as far as we talk about e-commerce, currently there is no foreign investment access control. You can do that by 100% by yourself. What you need to be careful is, as far as we are not talking about sales of goods, but we rather talk about offering of services online to the Chinese customers, then the famous ICT license issue could pop up, because again, we go back to value-added telecom services. And also, I mean, whether or not online services qualify as e-commerce, just like PAAS or SSAS, there are certain ambiguities. And in this regard, prior clarification of the regulatory implications and also close interaction with the regulators to have a viable arrangement, that is key. We did help many international clients in properly landing, implementing their online business plans via close interaction with the regulators. So in that regard, as I said at the very beginning, we are more focusing on finding a solution for our clients instead of just explaining about the, say, legal obstacles. There are challenges, but there's always a way to manage and implement this. Next slide, please. So this is here are just some figures showing you that how many licenses so far have been granted to foreign investment companies, particularly And many of them are in the e-commerce sectors. This also reflects about the legislative decoration. So next slide, please. And a most recent development on legislation side is the process to establish or to establish a company to do online related services. And as we expressed before, this might touch upon the so-called value-added telecom license issue, for which you need to apply for a license. And the authorities in charge of this, the so-called industrial watchdog, is the Ministry of Industry and Information Technology, so MIIT. They are in charge of issuing the respective license. In the past, the procedures to get a license is always super complicated. But now, with the rules being revised by the State Council taking effect from May the 1st, as you can see from the slide here, in the past, you have 3 steps to apply for a license, but now these days, you can do your incorporation first and then apply for a license, which is a very much business streamlined approach. And also the deadline for applying for a license, this has been simplified and shortened. So this is the change of law is eyeing on the direction of further opening up and further deregulate. So this is all good news for international companies, which is eyeing on getting enrolled into the digitalized era and apply for applying more services online. So next slide, please. And besides after those business models, then let's look upon the data regulatory side. So we do know that particularly since last year, there have been quite intensive legislation on data protection side. And those new laws and regulations have aroused quite strong reaction from the community, because China is also going to control data flow, and that creates quite some concerns. However, the real picture on the ground might not be that pessimistic. Rather, I would say that actually it also facilitates business. This I will just explain in the following slides. The next slide, please. So before we run into technical detail, it's always important to understand why data is becoming so important, not only from business side, but also from political side. And here you see this is a national level guidance opinion from the top ministries, which is just serve as a kind of plan for guiding the future industrial development. And those key industries, as mentioned here, or key technologies, as mentioned here, you can see that they all will have certain connections pointing to the topic of data. And so data itself is receiving political attention at very high level. And that also explains why in recent years, the legislation in the data field has become very much intensified. Next slide, please. The whole system itself is still evolving, it's quickly developing, and there are a lot of very confusing or ambiguous concepts flying around in the air, and many of them may have very broad scoping and certainly will also result in regulatory implications. And that's the first thing which quite often can confuse foreign investors. However, later on, I am going to explain a bit more in detail, which could help you better understand the implications and then help you better navigate through the complex. Next slide, please. So from implication side, you can see that all these concepts and new legislations will have quite some impacts on foreign business in China, not only Chinese business, but also foreign business. And when we talk about data protection, quite many people might be familiar with the European GDPR, which is focusing very much on data protection. And the first instinct when hearing about the topic of data protection, people might think about privacy protection, personal information protection. However, as far as China is concerned, this may not be the only thing that you need to pay attention to, because the whole Chinese data protection regime is made of two pillars. One pillar is talking about privacy protection, and the other pillar is talking about national security. So how to protect the data itself for the benefits of the state and also Chinese companies, Chinese individuals. So in that context, this will mean that the impact of Chinese data protection regime could be much wider than the European GDPR, because it's not only about privacy. And because we have been serving quite a lot of international companies, particularly those from Europe, and for them, many of them are in manufacturing sectors. So if you are doing manufacturing business, you might tend to think that, okay, well, data protection, GDPR, these concerns about privacy has nothing to do with my business, or very little, except in the employment aspect. However, when we talk about Chinese data protection, then it will have quite some impact on improving manufacturing business. And that would mean that not only in the HR field, but also, for example, in the R&D fields, a lot of impacts could arise, which you need to properly manage. Next slide, please. So this is a protocol showing about the legislative development. I think you only need to focus on the right bottom corner. Here, the two major laws, data security law, taking effect as of September the 1st last year, and also the personal information protection law taking effect from November the 1st last year. These two major laws are the cornerstone laws you need to pay attention to. Next slide, please. And this is just showing you how much digitalized China is. If you have experience living in China, you will definitely encounter all these scenarios, like border control, like traveling, and also like your daily shopping. So some are compulsory, some are optional for convenience. In daily life, data is already flying everywhere. And so digitalization is already very much deep-rooted in the Chinese economy development. Next slide. This goes certainly also with a lot of issues and problems, and that's why the data-related legislation has picked up its speed in recent years. And here I'm just showing you a case which has been publicly reported by the Central Television in Beijing. Every year on March the 15th, there will be a so-called Consumer Day Gala. On that big event, they are going to disclose to the society, to the public, how companies have been abusing their rights or violating laws. And this is a case where it shows that how those some big brands, they may not have even been aware of, or they about all these data-related implications while adopting the so-called smart marketing solutions or smart CRM systems. Actually, they were violating the rules and privacies of Chinese individuals, and it really goes to quite in-depth extent. And the detail when reported was, I mean, not so pleasant. But that's also demonstrates that on the Chinese market, digitalization, this is a trend. This is very popular, and there would be a lot of very attractive solutions and offering on the market. On the other hand, you need to be extremely critical about risk control, because all these smart solutions could go with certain risks, which then in the end could really result in disastrous. So next slide, please. Few points you need to take away. I mean, when we talk about laws and regulations, always you need to think about the consequences. And actually, the Chinese laws, data protection laws, take also a very strict approach. If we talk about the liabilities under the Chinese personal information protection laws, so the maximum penalty could go up to 50 billion RMB, and also 5% turnover of last year. And this is already quite a high amount compared with the European GDPR, which is deemed to be the most stringent one in the world. It only talk about 4% of your global turnover. So the Chinese version even go up to 5%. So here we really talk about quite some money. And the second aspect very important is that the liabilities will not only land on corporate level, but could also land on personal level. And personal level liability, this is not addressed by GDPR, by the European GDPR. However, this is explicitly addressed by Chinese PIPL. So that would mean that for all foreign operations, as far as you are embracing digitalization in China, you need to be very careful about this, particularly when it concerns about management liabilities, because you might need to revisit your global D&O insurers to keep them aligned and properly cover the exposure in China. And in serious cases, a case could trigger a criminal offense. And more importantly, number 4 here, it will concerns about the so-called social credit. And this is a new system built up by the Chinese government targeting companies, meaning that each company you may receive a kind of score based on your performance, your discipline performance. In case there's any violation of laws, etc., all these negative records will enter into this system, which then in return could jeopardize your business opportunities. For example, you might be, if it's a serious cases, you have already accrued quite some negative track records, then you might be barred from participating in certain bidding, and you may not necessarily have access to cheaper finance, etc. So China is really trying to build up a credit-based society, not only for individuals, but also for companies. And the new data protection law is linked up with such a system. So any violation, breach will further trigger some negative entry in that credit system. Next slide, please. And also don't forget that Chinese laws could also apply to you, even if you are only doing business with China, but not in China. So meaning that even for foreign head offices, you will be bound by the Chinese data protection laws. And this is the same as European GDPR. So as far as you're selling to the Chinese market, you will need to follow the Chinese PIPL data protection requirements. And in that regard, appointing an onshore representative, this is a legal must. Otherwise, it could have impacts. It could impact your onshore business, meaning that, for example, in case there's a privacy claim, and you don't have a local representative, which can be external or your local subsidiaries representative, and that claim in the end, if enforced, could potentially then just relates back to head office. Next slide, please. PI export control, and this is the biggest headache so far for many international companies because your IT infrastructure and solutions could be internationally deployed, and data will always be flowing across the border, because in the end, only when data is aggregated, it will create value. However, the tendency of all legislations around the world, as we see now, is that each and every country and jurisdiction is trying to build up a wall. Like European GDPR, it also regulates data export control, but it offers a more friendly solution to manage that. Chinese is doing the same, meaning that data exported, data transmission outside China also will need to be regulated. And this does not mean that China is no longer allowing data to leave China. It still allows. It only will not allow those data which goes with sensitivity, or data which was processed by those sensitive targets to leave China, which needs to follow certain export clearance procedures. And so this is a very rough picture about data export control under Chinese laws. So it is regulated. However, However, there are certain procedures you need to bear in mind and to follow. And also, I mean, for most companies, as far as we are not talking about sensitive data, there are quite straightforward procedures to follow to ensure that your data can flow around freely. For example, if we talk about your employee data, this is not so much sensitive as far as you have a good consent and disclosure in place. Usually, you will be allowed to have that flowing in between China and your foreign head offices. Next slide, please. And then the next one is regarding the data security law. In previous slides, we talk more about personal information, data security law. Well, the penalty under this law is much less than that under the PIPL, Personal Information Protection Laws. And under this law is more covering about the national security concern in the data field. And under this law, the state would establish a kind of data classification system where all data will be classified. And we talk about core data, important data, and general data. Core data, important data will be subject to more stringent scrutiny, and general data in general will, there is some compliance implications, but will be much more simpler to be managed. Next slide, please. Certain key concepts under the data security law. So number one, this law also applies to offshore activities. So meaning that even if you are sitting outside China, you are processing data, your processing activities should not jeopardize national security of China. So this is a so-called long reach effect of the law itself. And important data, I just explained that as far as you are processing important data, you will be subject to more stringent obligations, including a dedicated setup to take care of important data, regular reports and assessment. And if you are the so-called CIIO, Critical Information Infrastructure Operator, there are much more stringent obligations you need to follow. So next slide, please. And liabilities, we already touched upon that. Here again, I would like to stress that the liabilities would land on individuals, management members. So also the concept of management liability, this under Chinese laws, it always does not have a very clear legal framework, meaning that it's ambiguous. It could caught up anybody in the management function, like legal representative, directors or general managers, including even department head or project head. So in that regard, if you don't have a good compliance mechanism system in place, then in the end, your local staff, your local management members could be seriously exposed. And why a good compliance system is so important, I will explain it by one case. Next slide, please. So case study, next slide. So this is a very recent case in Shanghai, which demonstrates that how important a compliance system is. So the case is about a tech company, which obviously committed quite serious violation of privacy because its CTO and some other staff, they use spider technology to crawl and capture data from another company, and then that case was reported to the authorities. And usually this kind of breach could trigger criminal offense, and that could really result in very serious consequences. However, under this case, in this case, the concerned company acted in a very proactive way, and they follow a certain plea-bargaining approach by undertaking to build up a good compliance system, and also they cooperate quite well with the police and with the procuratorate to check about the risk spots throughout their business lines. And then in the end, they build up their, first they compensate the victimized company, and they build up a very good data compliance system And then in the end, this system was endorsed by the procuratorate upon hearing. The hearing was conducted by a panel of experts made of representatives from regulators, from the society, from other professionals. And then in the end, this company was able to escape from criminal liabilities. So indication out of this case is that as far as you have a good system in place, usually you will receive you will receive more mercy from the regulators and also from procuratory side, meaning that even if there is a breach case, as far as you have this in place, your liabilities can be alleviated. And this is not the only case so far we found from publicly available sources. There were also some other cases where a good data compliance system always helps a company, including the management members, to reduce their liability exposures. So I think this is more or less what I'm going to talk about. Next slide, please. So that's more or less what I'm going to talk about today. And thank you very much. If you have any questions, I look forward to discussing that with you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you for your presentation. I know that this topic is really, really complicated, and I think 30 minutes is not going to be enough to cover everything for everyone. But I just want to follow up with some questions. I know you have a very strong opinion about comparing this Chinese data protection with EU GDPR. Can you pretty much, summarize or compare, really do a comparison for us? I mean, is the Chinese regime in general less friendly towards business or otherwise? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. If we talk about, because many foreign friends might be familiar with GDPR. That's the so-called golden rules for privacy protection, as invented by EU and have been there for more than 1 decade. So people are very much used to that, and that also fits very much the European mentality to protect human rights and freedom. In that regard, if we compare that with the Chinese data protection regime, I would say that number one, the Chinese data protection regime learned a lot and even copied quite some mechanisms from GDPR. So if you read the Chinese personal information protection laws, you will find that there are many similarities. However, if we talk about difference, as I already explained in my slides, one major difference is that GDPR talked about company liabilities. Chinese data protection regime also talked about personal liabilities. And this is particularly important for foreign management members to bear in mind if you are picking up the role of the local legal rep or general manager, whatever. I mean, you need to be very careful how you want to manage your liability insurance and exposure. And then a second thing, which quite often is raised by our clients, that under GDPR, there's always the differentiation of the roles. Data controller, data processor. Data controller would be subject to heavier obligations, data controller, processor not. So data processor is just more or less like a third party offering services. And data controller is the one who decides how you process data. And this kind of differentiation is not so obvious under Chinese data protection regime, which will mean that as many Chinese companies are doing here, they try to outsource their risk by outsourcing certain sensitive business activities to an external company, by hoping that then I'm no longer a data controller, I can reduce my liabilities. This is not necessarily true under Chinese law, because so far under this law, the liability distinction between a data controller and processor is not so obvious, and that could create some problems, particularly for supply chain, for companies which will have a very complicated data flow relationship.
I also want to ask a question about data transfer, cross-border data transfer. I mean, we're not talking about multinational companies, complicated, technology models, but we're just talking about a very basic, for example, a small foreign SMEs that are operating in mainland China as well as, in other countries as well. They do share information, either employee information or customer information, business information, especially, for example, when it comes to employee management. They use, maybe in mainland China, they use the Chinese-based, cloud-based HR management system, but maybe in the headquarters, they use a different system. To what extent they have to take immediate action in complying with this PIPL or other data security law, as you just mentioned?
Okay. So number one, I think you need to build up a kind of data classification system. So first you need to know whether or not you are processing or the data you are dealing with, there's any sensitivity in it. This is the first thing, because as I explained that under Chinese data protection regime, there's always national security, which talk about important data, core data, and another aspect is privacy protection. So this is the first question you need to clarify. If you do have important data, even for small, medium-sized operations, depending very much on what business you are doing and with whom you are doing your business, there could be data sensitivities that you need to manage. And then also, I mean, if we talk about privacy, then each and every company will have employees, and employee privacy. That is another topic which could also trigger data export concerns. And actually, the general principle is not so much complicated, meaning that you need to disclose to your employees about how you are going to process your data, and then you need to get consent, including export, including engaging third parties to process. However, how you implement this, it's not so easy, because it's not just you present one piece of paper to the employee and then get one signature, that's okay. No, because we might be talking about a separate consent and how you design that separate consent. And also, if we talk about in the digital world, how you document the consents, that can become quite tricky in reality.
So in other words, whether big company or small companies, they have to have an assessment, right?
Exactly,
First.
exactly. So assessing the risk level you have, that's we call a gap assessment, and understand where you are, and then implement certain mitigation measures. That would be a recommendable approach.
Okay, and is this assessment, is there a threshold? Say this assessment can be done within the organization itself, or it has to be done by the regulatory any agencies?
No, normally we will guide our clients through to do this assessment. And usually what we offer is that, for example, we just send our client a questionnaire, you fill out those questions, and then we can give you an assessment report, high level, then you will already better understand where you will stand, and the cost will be justified, not so complicated. And this is for us, it's a very straightforward process.
I think we have a guest here that is an ESG data science company asking regarding both PIPL and DSL. Is there any threshold for CAC assessment that have been announced?
Well, I mean, here I need to clarify a bit the threshold for CAC assessment. Maybe we talk about the triggering point. There are various occasions when the so-called CAC assessment may be triggered. Particularly here, I will assume that we talk about data export. So data export, there are different ways for you to enable data cross-border transmission. Number one could be, if we talk about personal information, we talk about consent or we talk about the so-called standard sample clauses. So this is just like GDPR, you need to have a contract between the exporter and the foreign recipient. Or we talk about CAC conducted assessment. Or we talk about third-party certification.
Yeah.
I would say that the triggering event is that do you have data to be exported? And not necessarily CAC assessment is the only thing that you need to bear in mind. There has been some earlier draft rules talking about exporting of any data which should trigger CAC assessment. For example, we talk about 1 million people, or we talk about 1 gigabyte data. I mean, those are draft rules. So far, whether or not the authorities will indeed implement that remains a question, because that will really create quite some hurdle for business. So far, the draft has been there for many years, still not yet effective.
Yep. And let's talk about something general. You are also, in the legal, profession. I mean, you also serve a lot of international companies. Going back to my first question when we did the panel discussion, do you think foreign companies would rather stay away from the market because the Chinese regulatory issues are quite complex, or do you have other observations?
Well, I mean, in that regard, I would really take an example of the stock exchange. I mean, when the market is plummeting, I mean, do you think that what would be your best strategy? For me, I always would be highly cautious about the so-called common sense. I mean, when the market is down, you try to squeeze and just sell. Usually, you might need to do that the other way around, right? So this will mean that if there are pressures, if there are challenges, what you need to do is not to withdraw, but you might need to revisit your strategy, because this is your biggest chance if you are smart and proactive enough. Why? All the others are withdrawing, so they are surrendering their market to you. If you dare not to pick it up, it's gone. So in that regard, my observation and thinking is that yes, indeed, there's some traditional business which have been there, which has not been adapting for many years, and they indeed have received quite some suffering and might be pulling out. And this particularly refers to those so-called, as I phrase it, arrogance cases, meaning that you think that this technology or this solution will be there and everybody will be competing to buy it. You always need to adapt to the local market. And on the other hand, I do observe a lot of new business solutions and innovative products being highly demanded by the local market and entering the market. So my general comment is that I don't think that foreign companies will be pulling out from this market. Instead, they will just adapt, and more newcomers will play. Some will withdraw, but some will come.
Great, and I think Mr. Wong and Ms. Choi would agree with you, right?
Yes,
Do you
sure.
have further comments? Mr. Wong, Ms. Choi?
No comments. Business is about opportunities, all right? So people withdraw, that means it's a good chance for the stayers. Okay, so we have been in the market for so many years. I think me and Rosanna are truly stayers in the market. So leveraging on people's withdrawal, so that's why we can still survive, in the last 5 years. I think this is this is quite unique, in any business model or in any business where you withdraw, you miss the opportunity. But if you re-engineer, if you reinvent yourself, there are always opportunities. Rosanna?
Yeah, I think like minds come together. I can't agree more with Michael that where there are challenges, there are opportunities. And we should, as a businessman, we should assess the risk, have, some trade-off about what strategy would suit your vision, then you should go ahead and grab the chances.
Great. Thank you very much. I think will be the end of our event. Thank you, Michael, for joining. Thank you, everyone online, our friends. Thank you for staying with us to the end. Thank you for joining. Keep calm, carry on. Hopefully, we will see you in person very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
See you in 5 years' time and for another celebration.
Yeah,
Bye-bye.
look forward to the 10 years.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.